This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Let's go to line number 4. And Karen, good morning. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm okay. Thanks for asking. More importantly, how are you doing? I know that, for our listeners, you lost your partner, Brian, back in early April.
Yes.
A tragic set of circumstances, and he was a long-time employee of the City of St. John's. Is that correct?
Yes, he was. Yes.
So I'll let you pick it up from here. You're having some trouble. It's hard enough, I guess, dealing with this loss, sudden loss and the grief. Karen, and I appreciate you coming on the program. What has happened in those days since then?
Brian went into work overtime shift on April the 4th for 6 a.m. 8:01, I received a call from a paramedic to make my way to the health signs immediately. During that time, then I found out that Brian required serious medical attention, and he was placed on life support. He later died on April the 8th due to lack of oxygen to his brain.
I'm so sorry.
And so I'm not probably fully going to understand the events that took place that morning. But I've been told by the people on shift that day that they did what was best for Brian at the time. And even though I know what was best, I'm not going to get into all of that just because of the circumstances surrounding it.
Understood.
So basically, the reason I'm calling now is the way that my family has been treated since then.
Yes.
By the City of St. John's.
And this has to do with, a simple plaque and a bench that you were hoping you could have in his memory.
Yes. So prior to that, Brian's belongings that was at work, including his cell phone, were boxed up. And this just breaks my heart. And sent to our home in a box by Purelator and left on our front porch in the rain, as if Brian himself was just disposable and meant nothing. I was later told by a manager, because he called just to let me know it was done, just to make sure I got it knowing I was at the hospital at that time, that it was a miscommunication and should never have happened. The lack of communication that I received from management, I was pushed off to just an occupational health and safety nurse. The lack of compassion and empathy shown to our family during the most difficult time of our lives has been very disheartening. I found out then as well that the week after Brian passed, city employees were in doing, some of them anyway, doing first aid training. I was like, yeah, of course, go figure. The call I got from the manager was very cold and impersonal. I think, and I don't even know who he was, to be honest. I think he's fairly new. So anyway, I put all that aside and let all of that work itself out in the long run. So I decided to try to honor Brian with a memorial bench at Bowering Park, where he worked for many years, and put a memory stone at Bannerman Park because he looked after the loop in the wintertime. I made all the necessary calls. I emailed the appropriate people. I completed the applications. I went to City Hall, paid $2,000 for a bench that's already at the park for years. It's actually located right next to the main road by a bus stop, closer to the duck pond. I paid another $325 for the memory stone, and I had to order the plaque myself, which cost another $300 because that's not included in the bench. Shortly after I left City Hall, I got an email asking for another $3,000 because there's only Victorian-style benches permitted at Bowering Park. I actually went to the park and took a photo of another bench that was there that's not a Victorian-style bench, with a plaque on it from another city employee who actually works there. I asked why that bench was permitted while I was denied the same option and never got a response. During the course of all of that, I did have emails back and forth, and they asked me to wait another few days. They're looking into a possible solution. Can you wait? I'm sorry to be putting you off. Can you wait? We're just having meetings. We're waiting for someone to get back. They're out of town. It was excuse after excuse. And I wait. So I agreed, and I waited. And finally, I got an answer. No, $5,000 or no bench. The $5,000, I guess, is apparently for the upkeep, but the bench is being looked after regardless.
Mm-hmm.
It was never about the money. It was just about the principle, the way my family was treated, and through all of this, and just the fact that Brian worked there for years, was very well respected by just public and his peers, and just the fact of surrounding even how he died. He was actually at work, and he wasn't even supposed to work that day. I did go back to City Hall. I did request a full refund, and I've reached out since to the city of Mount Pearl, who treated me with much more kindness, compassion, and empathy. I'm very disappointed, incredibly hurt by how everything was handled. Brian might have been a number just to the city of St. John's, but he was somebody to his family, including a little girl who now has to grow up without her Poppy, and the bench was going to be called Poppy's Bench. Brian deserved better from his employer. So yes, do better to City of St. John's. Grieving people deserve more than your cold emails. They deserve more than just policies and excuses. At the very least, show some compassion and at least pretend to care. They say that they value Brian's years of service is what I get. But this experience didn't leave any value to us. We feel very dismissed and very hurt. And I just want to say one other thing. To the ones that were working that day, I hope that every time you close your eyes, it's Brian's face that you see. Thank you. That's all.
Karen, can I just ask you, how long did Brian work for the city?
13 years.
13 years. And
Yeah.
I know you mentioned that there is an investigation still into the circumstances of what happened. So I don't want to speak for the city. I know, it's hard. I can only imagine. I understand every single bit of anger and dismay and disgust that you have because it's been less than 2 months. And this is still very raw. I have to believe that, they don't really consider people just a number, they're employees. But when it comes to this, it's always usually a fall down in either it's a miscommunication, a lack of communication, or not direct communication. I mean, emails, everything gets lost in translation, and then there's probably a better explanation and definitely could have been handled better.
Yes.
But,
yes, definitely.
It's just,
I work with the provincial government myself, so I know how all of this works and how all of this entails and stuff. I deal with it myself. But, you take the time, and that's one thing. I guess I'm a people person, and I always take the time. And I never got that from day one from them. I was pushed aside and had to deal with this occupational health and safety nurse rather than the people who directly worked with him.
Karen, I know, as I said, there's a bit of an investigation. I'm so sorry for your loss, to say the very least. The suddenness of that, it's and the questions that still remain about what happened that day, I'm sure, in your mind. So it's still very early, very raw. I know. I appreciate you sharing this today, and I really hope, and I'm sure, someone from the city will reach out to you today. I'm sure. Look, I can promise you they're scrambling to identify who this caller is, and I'm sure they know by now, but they may not have gotten your name right off the top. But look, any communication and any follow-up you receive from the city, of which I firmly expect there will be, please, get back to us and let us know how that went, because I'm sure this seems just like a miss, and I'm sure there'll be some corrective action.
I definitely will, and thank you again for taking the time. I'm a first-time caller, so but I felt that Brian is not here to speak, so I had to speak for him. And
you did the yeoman service, and as difficult as I know it sounded, and it was, I appreciate you, and I'm sure he appreciates the effort that you just went through live here on the air. So again, this is how things can get out there and get solved, so I really hope everything works out for you. Thank you again for your time, and again, I'm so sorry for your loss.
Thank you so much, Brian.
Take care.
Take care.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Yep, let's go to St. Mary's. Mayor Steve Ryan, you're on the air.
Start off, Brian, congratulations on your new job. You're doing a great job there.
Yes, sir.
First, I want to give a quick update. I know over the years, I'm after talking to you, Paddy, and everybody on your shows about Southland.
Yes, sir.
Great news. We're going to tender on. We're going to tender. It's closing on 2:00 on Thursday, and we're hoping to have it awarded by 3:00 and work to start the following week. That's a really good news story. It took a while to get there, but we're there. So that's the good news part that's happening in our town.
So that's on Thursday it closes, correct?
Yeah, on Thursday's closing at 2, and we're having a meeting to award the contract on 3 o'clock. We're not holding up. We want to get this done as soon as possible. We're after waiting too long, and we're on the home stretch.
Do you have any idea how much interest you have in the work, to do the work, to get that contract?
A lot of interest, more than what I expected.
Yeah.
I thought we had an on-site visit. I think it was last week, and it was over 5 companies showed up, and then we had to have another one with 3 more companies. There's certainly been a lot of interest, which is good. It'll be better pricing for us and the government, but at the end of the day, we had to pick somebody that's going to do what we have to get done. It's a big tender. It's over 100 pages. There's a lot of I's, a lot of T's. And it's not just straightforward. So, but we're ready now. We think we're in the home stretch anyway.
Yeah, and this is just first stage, of course. Actually, removing the sauce and the outdoor cleanup. Will that be disturbed at all? Like, is it going to be some kind of mitigation to make sure that it doesn't, stink to high hell while they're? It's like asbestos, right? You don't want to touch it.
No,
that's when it becomes dangerous.
Yeah, we know it's going to be some odor there. We know that. We don't know how strong it's going to be. It's an odor there on a good day. When you start starting it up, it's not going to help the cause. But the people in the radius, they're understanding. What would you say, for short-time gain, short-time pain for long-term gain, and they're more than willing to put up with this. They figure it'll take them 4 to 6 weeks to get in and take it out there. And then we're going to do the second part of the tenders for the demolition of the building, and we'll be doing that as soon as we start the clean-up part. The main reason I'm calling today is that our other plant on the beach is our fish processing license. There's a lot of stuff after happening over the past, 6 months. Like I said, everybody know we lost our plant in November, and since then, there's not much after happening. The beach started being cleaned up and that, insurance. Our workers are after going on a program. It's called SEEP. That's just to get them through the season and get them qualified for EI. We're having a little bit of issue with the program. It's great to get it and to look after the workers, but we're running into trouble because some of the workers committed to go to 2 other facilities with this company and do their crab. And they agreed to get on a bus and drive 2 hours each way, 4 hours a day. And for some reason, it fell through. So when it fell through, those workers were left out. They never originally put their name down for the C program.
Right.
Now they don't qualify. So we're kind of in a predicament. We want the government to give us a go-ahead, and some are cut off. They have no income whatsoever. So we'd like for the government to give us the go-ahead, but it's a slow process, it seems. I don't think they really understand how bad it is for some of those workers to not have no income. They always had income over the years, and the past 3 years have been really good with the fish plant. And now they have no income whatsoever. Like, I had a lady call me the other night crying. What can you do for me, Mayor? I said, I'm doing what I'm able to do. We have some money there. We think we might have enough money to look after the people that are left out, but we need to go ahead from the government to let us hire those workers. Everyone is individually approved. So hopefully by coming on and talking about this, that we'll get them rolling a bit quicker, and we get to look after those workers because they volunteered, not really volunteered, but they stuck with the company, and we're going to go to 2 other locations and take on this new endeavor, and now they're being left out in the cold. Yeah. Some of these are plant workers for 30 years.
Yeah, despite their loyalty, hey?
Yeah, I know. And like I said, they're getting knocked for being loyal. But anyway.
I'm just going to say, Steve, like you mentioned that the call from one woman, she crying on phone, I mean, without an income. I mean, it's hard to make it with an income these days. I can't imagine without anything coming in at all how anyone survives. How did that go sideways where they didn't qualify for that? Can you just explain that a little more?
We originally went out and looked for names of who would want to go on the program to get them through a season with EI. And when we originally went out, we got 48 names. So we applied to the government with that to let them know we have 48 names. So the government give us a pot of money to look after 48 workers. If those original workers had to put out, we had to have, say, it's probably 20 or 25 left out in the cold, we would have had 75 workers. But they wanted to try, they were going to go, they didn't want to really go on the project, they were going to try other plants, they wanted to stay loyal to the company.
Kind of bridge the gap with something.
Yeah, and that's what, like, they want to stay into the industry that they were in, and that's what got them where they're to. And now we'd like for the government to step up and give us the go-ahead and get these workers on this program and get a check in their pockets. Like I said, this day and age is really hard to get by with with a check, let alone no check.
Exactly. What kind of chatter is going on between yourself and government on that front?
Self and government, we're back and forth, but it's a lot of red tape because you go to one and then they have to go to somebody else. Red
tape is no good to those workers. But
no,
sorry,
and that's where we're getting lost into the thing. And that's just one. Like a lot of those workers give up careers in healthcare, construction. Used to drive them back and forth to St. John's.
Yeah.
And now they're here in our town and they're getting worried. Even the ones on the seat program, what's going to happen with our plant? And we're getting no answers on either end from the company or the government. I'm in constant contact with the company. We have great contact with them, and we can ask for any better than the company that came into our town and what they done here. And they're telling us they're not committed yet to the rebuild. They work with the insurance. I think a good part of what's happening is they're waiting and to see how many new licenses are going to be issued.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This new policy that the government is talking about issuing new licenses, it's not a good time.
The uncertainty is just palpable. It's that's St. Mary's Bay Fisheries, right? Is that a wholly owned, or who's their parent, or do they have a parent?
St. Mary's Bay Fisheries is the Daly family.
Yeah, that's the Dalys. Okay, just making sure.
And where we're to is there's no guarantees that we last one season. So where we're like with the fisheries, we like I said, I'm in contact all the time with the family. I'm also in contact with the government. We sent 2 letters to the minister. Neither one of them were responded to. We want some questions answered, like how long would they leave the license here in our town if it's no processing done? We know the company demanded that one thing that they needed to rebuild was a lobster license and a pelagic license. Will they get that? We need some answers.
Time is ticking.
Time is ticking, and what's worse now is we're hearing a rumor that our license is going to be moved out of our town. And that's why I want to
Fisheries
get
Minister on line 1.
Oh, a rumor is not good. If to move a license out of our town, we're one of the original crab plants on the island, almost 50 years. We're a fish plant town. Yeah. To move a license is just I don't even get it, and don't make sense. So, like I said, I just want to after our second letter, I did get a call from the deputy minister. Me and him had a grand talk, and I told him my concerns. But like right now, I'm asking the minister himself, Mr. O'Driscoll. I think he has 4 processing plants in his area. If he was to go into one of those plants and tell him, I'm going to move your license to a neighboring town, how did he think that will go over? Well, it's going to go over 10 times worse here in St. Mary's.
Does that not make you...
12 towns.
It makes you vulnerable to the fact that the plant isn't there right now, that it has been lost, and that there's no certainty for its future, correct? I mean, the rebuild plans, if there was something certain there from the company, maybe then the wheels could go in motion?
Definitely. Like I said, I think they're holding off on to see where those licenses are going to go.
Oh.
Not a good time for expansion in industry. We all know. I talk to the fishermen. Catch rates are low. Fishermen are even worried about getting their quotas. It's going to be more cuts next year, the quota. It's just a downturn. It's like a cycle.
Yep.
We'll come back again if it's properly done.
But on top of everything else right now, it doesn't help.
No, it is that, and like a lot of we had people here the first time ever took on mortgages here in our towns. When I say St. Mary's, I think I counted last night. There's 12 towns that have workers in the plant. So it's the whole radius of the whole. Like we're working on probably a couple of thousand people in those towns, and there's a lot of uncertainty. Like talk about new plants. Yes, the Fisher people want new plants, they think is going to be better for their pricing. I want to give it top dollar. The more money that the Fisher people get, the more money they spend in our towns.
True.
But the number that's been thrown around for a rebuild of a new plant is not for everybody. I don't think I'll be able to invest into it.
Especially as you just said, right? Especially as you just said, with the cyclical nature and the downturn most likely coming. And Steve, it's a great point you make. You know, sometimes we, in their mind's eye, we believe, you know, you hear the plant is in St. Mary's, so then it's all St. Mary's workers. But no, there's so many outreach communities within, you know, that area that are affected by it. It's not just St. Mary's residents. So it's important to always remind that. Yeah.
Route 90, I call it Route 90, and even off spin. We have people drive from CBS to work on our plant, from Bay Roberts, from and just towns I never even counted.
I can't even imagine.
It's crazy.
Yeah, and the gas bill, the gas bills alone.
I know, but it was good. The plant was paying good money, one of the highest paid plants on the island, and they had a phenomenal last 3 years. We fought with the previous government to get the license, and we went from being capped to no cap, and we were at a good spot until devastation hit with that fire in November, which is the worst day ever could happen in any of our towns here. And right now, we have to try to make the best of it, but we want to get to the next step, and a rebuild or something there has to happen. But the government got to get involved. Like the way people don't understand, they say about licensing. We don't own the license to town, and really the company don't own the license. The licenses are owned by the government. They're renewed every year. So, and now we had this government eliminated the licensing board, which we had to go before to get our license. So it's right on the minister's shoulders now to make any decisions with this, and he have full control of the fishery now. And hopefully we'd like for him to sit down with the company and get some answers, and sit down with our towns, our 12 towns, and see if we can make a step forward. We're willing to make concessions as a town. We'll do whatever possible to bring this company back. We couldn't ask for any better in this company in our town. We're willing tax breaks. We have land that we provide for a plant. We're going to have another big piece of land now once we get our sauce plant cleaned up. But we need some assurance, and I'm sure that companies need some assurance from the government. It's a big step. There's numbers thrown around upwards $30 million to build a new plant. That's a lot. Brian, me and you want to invest into a new plant, I don't think.
Well, in a perfect world, they would just clear that clean it right up, that whole site there with the old plant, and just put the new one there, and onward she goes, and in a perfect world. Steve, I'm well past the break, but look, Loyal O'Driscoll, I'm sure they're listening, his staff, his department. We would welcome a call. There's a lot on that bone to chew on, and I can't imagine. I'm sure you're compensated generously for your work. Boy, I'll tell you, you're earning your paycheck these days.
Oh, I'm a 100% volunteer.
I know. That was the irony of it, hey?
But you heard my interviews over there. I wear my heart on my sleeve.
Yep.
I'm for my town.
Yeah,
I'll fight to the last breath for my towns. I will so.
Yeah, I'm sure you'd rather see the MHAs and the minister get on to more important things than bickering with each other, especially this issue. So.
Definitely.
Loud and clear, Steve. Mayor Steve Ryan of St. Mary's, thank you very much for the update.
Thank you for your time, and I'll be a repeat caller for you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go right to line number 5. And David Tutton with the NL Beekeeping Association, of course. You're on the air.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Good morning, David. How are you? I'm not seeing a lot of. I think all the dandelions are curled up and what's the word? Withered down today with all the cold weather around. But go for it.
I was going to say that they're just like the rest of us, waiting for spring and summer to hit. I mean, this is absolutely crazy how cold it still is, and I mean, frost warnings at night and everything else. And the bees are all stuck in their houses waiting to come out and get their pollen and everything else. But the whole of nature here is slowed down. So we're in the middle of the No Mow May campaign. And I'd just like to say, although our grass is getting taller, please, if you can, hold back cutting the grass for another week or more, just to let the dandelions blossom and give our native bees and our pollinators, all of our pollinators, including our honeybees, something to feed on, because they are so in desperate need of the blossoms, of the pollen, and of the nectar at this time of year. I've lost a number of hives this winter. It was a brutal winter for our pollinators, and I say our native ones had just as bad a year as well. So if you can hold off cutting the grass, we'd really appreciate it. And I'm sure the pollinators, whether they be bumblebees, and I've seen a few of those around, or many of the native species, as well as our honeybees, would really appreciate you leaving the blossoms there, leaving the dandelions. After we get through May and into June, then there should be other things in bloom and we should be fine. But it'd be really good if people could just hold off cutting the lawn just for a few more days. Another week would be fantastic. And then we'll ask your weatherman to please tell us that there's nice weather coming. We'll hold you to it, right?
Or weather woman. I love it. Rhonda Batten down the hatches, who I like to call affectionately. She does great work for all of us. By the way, before I get going, happy belated World Bee Day.
Thank you. Yes, it's an event that happens each year, and many folks pick up on it and catch it. I had notes from all over the place saying, do you know that today is? Yep. And it was fantastic to be able to celebrate World Bee Day and the pollinators and everything. We've got to remember, it's not just honeybees. It's the whole works. All of these pollinators are so important to our environment. Without them, if we didn't have honeybees, 1/3 of everything we eat would cease to exist. So, we really need to be very cognizant of that.
Yeah, and if you're not big on the high science background on all of that, just watch the Bee Movie. It's the basics.
The Bee Movie is great, and I'm getting a lot of comments about that. And there's a number of things that are out there that are worth watching. There's kids ones and there's academic ones. There's fantastic natural history stuff, the documentaries. There's a lot of it out there, and it's well worth watching just to see what's going on and how the world around us operates. I think we're becoming a lot more in tune with nature these days, and a lot more sensitive and open to what's happening and how we've destroyed so much of it. And I think we are becoming much more in tune with it, and I think it's a good thing. And if we can promote that and get people to watch for nature and see how the whole works interacts, it would be fantastic.
Yeah, I think even last year, David, was a dose of reality for a lot of us, just given how dry it was and having the kind of crunchy ground and brown grass in July and August that we're just not used to. And I think people just kind of did a little mind check and said, geez, this is really different for the planet. This is different. This is not usual. And the other thing I wanted to ask, I know we're into the Monet stuff, and I just wonder, we talk about the importance, don't leave your dandelions and that sort of thing so they have something to feed on. Are dandelions kind of really like junk food? Is it not the best? I mean, obviously it doesn't offer complete nutrition for bees, right? But is it just the most accessible and the easiest at this time of year, as opposed to being the best source of food for bees?
It's one of the first things that comes up in abundance.
Okay.
We do have other things, like, for example, crocuses have been and gone. Different spring bulbs, the hyacinths and what have you, have come and gone. We get the pussy willows that flower as well, and they go to those. But dandelions, particularly in our urban environments, where we've cut most of the trees and we've got things that don't flower until later in the year, if they flower at all, dandelions are one of the things that come up, particularly in our urban environments, that is highly visible and in abundance. And dandelions do a lot of things, actually. They bring up nutrients from deep down in the soil and bring it up to the surface. And so they actually help to nourish the surface layer of the soil as well. They bring stuff up from really hard baked soil and bring it up to the surface. So they have a number of issues. If you want to do a whole thing on dandelions and the benefits of them, it's phenomenal. Not to mention that every bit of a dandelion is edible by us as well.
Yeah, no, listen, I remember getting them caught in my teeth when I was a kid. I don't know why I was eating them, but we used to, no, go ahead. Flashbacks.
I mean, I also have had the coffee made from the dandelion root, and it's really is not unlike instant coffee. It really is incredible. So, it's got a lot of benefits to it. But once again, in our lawns, we're not going to be doing that for the most part, I don't think. But at least our pollinators will be enjoying them.
The price of coffee these days. The price of coffee these days. Price of everything. Dandelions are looking pretty. Dandelions are looking pretty edible to me these days. I don't know. Maybe I shouldn't joke, I suppose.
I mean, but we're talking about bees here. Looking around the world, I've just been talking to friends of mine, relatives of mine in the UK. They've just had the hottest day in May on record in the London area. They were up in the high 30s.
Same with Paris.
Which is unheard of.
Same with Paris. A lot of the European country capitals are in heat waves right now,
And then I was talking to my oldest brother just outside of Barrie, Ontario, 2 weeks ago. They were up in the high 30s. And then suddenly they plummeted down to 2 degrees. And it was like, wow.
Yeah.
But nature is taking a real beating. And, if we go out and we have air-conditioned houses and then we have a heated house, like my older brother, what on earth is nature doing in that period? How are our native species working through that? It's disastrous. And we've really got to be observant and really got to be protective of them as much as we can. But again, back to the no more May. We are still in May. Please, everybody who can hear me, if you can just hold back on cutting your lawn by another week or so, it would be wonderful. And I tell you, when you do cut it then, the smell will be beautiful of newly cut grass. And I absolutely love that smell. So hold off another week, please.
I love it too, and I can't wait to smell it all throughout my neighborhood. It's probably not going to be today, but there you go. Next week we're looking at.
And then if you can pick up different types of flower seeds or small plants and stuff to put into your garden to help with pollination as well, there's a pile of things out there. I mean, kids love to plant things like sunflowers. Sunflowers are great. Cosmos, dahlias. I mean, there's a whole pile of things.
The list goes on,
the pollinators love. Okay. And, marigolds and the whole works. Absolutely fantastic. Not to mention vegetables. I mean, your pumpkins and your squash and all those things. Absolutely fantastic for our pollinators.
David Tutton with...
Please,
go ahead.
I say, please plant whatever you can to help our pollinators. And, you'll get a better crop from them as well. I mean, and those who put in apple trees and pear trees and plum trees, and fantastic.
David, thanks always for keeping this top of mind, the environment, the bees, and just in general. Good practices around the yard and all the rest.
Well, thank you. You reached out to me this morning and called. I wasn't expecting this. You just caught me. I was on a break in a Tim Hortons, and I had to move out to the vehicle so I could hear you.
Timing is everything.
Timing is everything. I'm up in Grand Falls, Windsor today, and yesterday was a beautiful, hot, sunny day. Today is overcast and a bit cooler, but it's still pleasant. But I think you and St. John's have really got it cold and foggy.
We do.
From what I'm hearing.
We do, but we're going to get away from that now and wish for better days. Thanks, David. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Take care.
Thank you. You have a great day.
You too, sir.
Okay.
Bye.
Bye.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Let's go to line number 3. And Sarah, you're on the air.
Hi, I'm Sarah King. I'm a self-managed home care worker, and I just wanted to call again. It's not really much to update other than that I've been trying to get a hold of the different MHAs, and Craig Party, who's the minister in charge of seniors and home care, is under his umbrella. And I haven't received any email or phone calls back, unfortunately, since the budget was released. And like I said last time, we're grateful for a $2 increase, but that's not equal pay for equal work, which, a year ago, the PCs put out a video showcasing Craig Party saying in the House that they believed in equal pay for equal work, But this isn't that. So.
Yeah, and $2 more. Look, the wage disparity is real, as we know, and as you have been carrying the torch for. So, do you appreciate that, it's going to be incremental and it's not going to be all overnight, or is that something that just doesn't... Are you tired of hearing that?
I'm tired of hearing that. If you're going to say something, we tell our children, just, if you could say something, that's what you got to follow through on that. And our government officials, they're not doing that. You said in the House when you weren't in charge that equal pay for equal work, and put my face in that video with my CBC story that was out there, and then $2 is not equal pay. It's just not. And then also, so Michael King, the MHA for Burgeo, he wrote in my Facebook group a comment saying that once it's been the budget has passed, then the officials have to do their thing to get this implemented, and it could be the fall before we see this increase. So even if we're still waiting.
I know.
How long is this going to take?
Yeah, I know that the former Liberal government, addressed the concern, talking about, look, a lot of this comes down to the different hiring requirements that various agency-based home care support workers have, and of course, that can run the gamut depending on qualification, whether it's first aid or reference checks, certificates of conduct, and all the other things, medical clearance. Do you appreciate? What's the rationale? And I'm not sure you accept it, but what's the rationale for that they give you now for the disparages? If there is a $2 to $3 gap.
That is exactly what the answer I've been given is, that those hiring requirements are the difference. But the problem is that those hiring requirements are what the government expects of the agencies, and doesn't expect clients to be expecting that of their workers. Many self-managed home care workers are expected to have those exact same things when they're hired.
So is that the breakdown there then? Is that the gap that we're looking at? They're expected to, but they don't?
Exactly. The government doesn't expect it. So the government doesn't act. I have all of those things as a self-managed home care worker, but the government is like, well, but you're a self-managed home care worker, so you get paid less. It doesn't matter that I have all of those requirements. And, from April 2023 October 2023 until April 2024, we were making the same amount of money as agency workers. Mm-hmm. So for 6 months, we could make the same. What changed? The change was that the federal government gave the province of Newfoundland a bunch of money. There was a change to the Aging with Dignity Act. Mm-hmm. They said, here's a whole bunch of money for home care. And the provincial government said, okay, we're only going to use that money for agency workers. That's not fair.
And has that been confirmed in your correspondence back and forth with government, that there's no allowance for self-managed?
They have not denied it. They have not agreed with it. They just completely have ignored that point in all of my letters. Yeah.
It's easy to ignore, I guess, and not address the issue and pass the buck to the home care agencies, I guess. What's the average gap right now? And I know it's not just that. You're also want additional benefits, right? It's not just about pay, correct?
So right now,
where do the benefits come in? Yeah.
Everyone's concerned about the equal pay. There's been talk about how we deserve retro pay. So right now, the difference is, I make $17.05 an hour, and home care agency workers are making $20 something. I'm not exactly sure the number off the top of my head at the moment. But also, they have sick days. They get their sick pay. They get they have 9 paid holiday days. We only have 7. They have workers' comp. Self-managed home care workers do not fall under workers' comp. And, the benefits as far as, the insurance, I mean, that's just something that's something that comes with working for an employer like that, right? Like it would be, I don't know how that would even work for self-managed home care workers.
I get the feeling, Sarah, very much that this is a work in progress, that they'd love to have it up and more globally available to everybody and working well with all equal pay across the board. But I get the impression, this shift, if you will, to trying to find alternate ways to care for our either acutely sick or our seniors or whoever the healthcare needs. It's trying to move away from acute care, trying to move away from people being in acute care who shouldn't be there, trying to transition to home care. And of course, part of that is, if you're short on home care workers, then getting the relatives involved and being able to qualify them. And so it's all this move, obviously, to the publicly subsidized program to receive funding to hire and direct their own support workers. That's great. Now they seem to be into the weeds of trying to satisfy all the various components of this, because it's not cut and dry. There's no question. Sometimes red tape, is a little stronger earlier on in the process as they try to, unstick it and unravel it and try to make it available equally and fairly to other people. I see where they are. It's a transition period. Do you give them any grace period? Any kind of leeway for that as they try to work their way through this? No, I appreciate it. I didn't think so.
We've been waiting since 2024.
Yeah, I understand. Changes of government always cause problems with that too.
Yeah.
It's a reset with the new health minister and all that sort of thing.
Well, home care doesn't fall under health care anymore.
Yes, right. It's
been changed to seniors, which, that's a whole different subject and kettle of worms, because that doesn't make any sense to any of us.
You're right. So I guess I meant the file in general, but yes.
Yes, but I'm hoping, both Jim Dinn and Ms. Sherry Gemmon Walsh, they both have petitions about this, and hopefully they have the chance to bring it before the House if everyone's able to behave themselves and give the time for these important issues. So that this can be heard. But what really bothers me is that, there was a $2 raise promised, and that's great. But in April, agency workers will receive another raise. And there's no promise in that budget that we will get a raise as well. There's no maintenance to that increase.
You mean next April?
Yes, next April. Yeah. So every April, according to their union contract, they get another raise.
Right.
And, there was a significant increase this last contract, but that money came from that Aging with Dignity money that the federal government gave them.
Right. And it didn't necessarily. And the union
just put it in stone. But also, people need to realize not every agency is part of the union, and those that are not part of the union, they also got the raise. So this has nothing to do with the union. The union just got it written in stone.
Yeah, no, and it's going to take people like yourself to lobby for those who've been left out of the larger swath, to make sure and to fight and lobby for it. Unfortunately, that's the way it goes. They have a standard set. Here's the program. Now, how do we work everybody into it and give everybody a fair piece of the pie? It's a tough one, but again, it seems like you really have to be just on them all the time to get a straight answer and move the needle a bit, And the Liberals looked at it when they were in government, and now they're in opposition. So it seems like something they would be able to push forward for you as well, because they didn't have a whole lot of answers even themselves last year when they were talking about the wage review and that sort of thing, hey?
No, and I did get my response to my access to information request about the review, and it's a bunch of nonsense.
A lot of redactions, maybe?
A lot of redactions, a lot of just questions and emails back and forth. It doesn't look like there were any meetings. Nothing actually happened. There was a little summary of the first time I called into Open Line and talked to Patty last year. Somebody had written a little summary of what I said, and I was like, oh, Okay, somebody was listening, but did they do anything with that information?
It's the epitome of red tape right now, Sarah. There's no question when you get correspondence like that. I've got to get off to the break, but keep the good fight. You know, we have it here. I know we get a lot of reaction and emails and that sort of thing about this because, you know, aging with dignity. I just got a PSA, help seniors age with dignity. Connections for Seniors, you know, it's a great organization. And we can give out more detail on that, of course, if anyone's interested. But it's crucial that we have options, you know, to take care of our sick and our elderly and our vulnerable and everything. And we have to think differently. And this is one of those ways. So I appreciate you calling with this one again.
Well, thank you for listening. And I just want to remind everyone again about our Facebook group, the Self-Managed Home Care Workers NL. I hope we can all meet there to advocate together.
Absolutely. Keep the discussion going. Thanks so much, Sarah. Good luck with everything.
Thank you.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Let's go right to line number 4. And Tom Babcock, you're on the air.
Good morning. How are you this morning?
Hey, Tom. How are you?
I'm good. With respect to Tom's call, he should probably pop by the hub sometimes. We've had a real issue here with garbage, and we had this one gentleman who decides every garbage day to collect up all the neighbours' garbage and deposit it in front of our front door.
Oh, lovely.
We know who he is. The police have arrested him more times than I can count, but he keeps getting released, and we keep having to clean it up every day. That's the situation we're faced with.
Why is he doing that? Is there an issue between him and you, or is it just something that he does?
No, he's got a mental illness.
Mental health. Okay.
Yeah. He's from a very, very good family, but he's got mental issues, and he's very personable, very nice when we talk to him. Why are you doing this? And he just, you know, that's another issue, you know. It's an awful mess for us. Our only issue with the city of St. John's is that we pay to have our garbage removed, and now these days we're paying to have our neighbours' garbage removed because the city won't do anything for us. So. And
as you said, you know, Tom, it's probably from a good family. That doesn't really it doesn't discriminate mental health. It doesn't. It's across all sectors, all board. We all know that, and we have to know that. And we have to understand that. So. It doesn't discriminate based on, you know, your position in society, shall we say.
Yeah, it's no good to get upset with the kid because he doesn't know what he's doing, basically. So we just live with it. But anyway, that's not why I didn't call, but Dave called me because I guess I was listening to your program this morning on the way to work, and this lady got on, and I lost it. I called your station, and I vented. And I guess Dave heard it. He called me and he said, laughing, he said, Tom, maybe you'd like to talk to you about it. And what the issue had to deal with, and I've just been so frustrated with this. I'm 78 years of age. I'm a senior. I don't act like a senior, but I'm a senior. And I, you know, financially, I don't have financial worries of any kind. Another 8 minutes, the market's going to open, and I'm going to make another fortune in AI as soon as the market opens. So financially, I don't have any issues. I own my own home. I own my own car. I'll never spend the money I have. And it seems to me that everybody wants to, not everybody, in particular some seniors, seem to want to tar all of us with the same brush, that we all need handouts and we all need help and we all need to be helped to the curb and into our cars and things. And that's nothing could be further from the truth. There are many, many of us out there, like myself, who started planning for our retirement when we were 20 years of age, so that we get to the stage we are now where we are financially secure and we don't need help. And I get even more upset when I listen to the seniors advocates, because I've never seen such useless agency in my entire life, because all they're doing is treating symptoms. They're not treating the root cause as to why seniors today, some seniors today, are having the issues they're having. All they're doing is saying, oh, we need more housing, they more need this, they more need this. Well, why aren't we out educating people who are 45 years of age today, saying, guys, come 65 or 70 or whatever, you're going to be retiring. What are you doing to plan for that? That, to me, is the role of a seniors advocate, so that we're not faced with the same issue 20 years from now, talking about all the assistance and help and things that we need for seniors. Because what set me off this morning was this lady who got on. She's all upset that she can't get a paper flyer anymore because she doesn't know how to access sales for grocery stores and things online. So the point I'm trying to make here is that if we're going to have a seniors advocate, we're going to have people like that, let's look at the reason why some seniors today are struggling. And let's try and educate people as to the fact that they're going to have to retire someday, and they're not going to make it on Canada Pension and OAS. I don't even get OAS. I'm 78 years of age. I don't even get it because they claw it back from me every year. But that's another issue. But why am I the exception? You know, why am I at my age not needing all these assistance? And the answer is simple: is that I plan for my retirement. And I'm sorry to cause this rant here thing, but after I heard my friend of mine heard the call on the radio this morning. He called me up and he says, "Tom, you need any help getting to your car this morning?" Mm-hmm. You know, as a joke, of course. Yeah. But you know, and that's the point I'm trying to make here: is that why aren't we out educating people at the fact that eventually you're going to retire, and you got to plan for that. And there's 100 different ways of planning for that. You know, there's so many programs. I was a financial counselor in the military for most of my adult life. And what I kept saying to everybody all the time is that you pay your phone bill and your car bill and your utility bill and your grocery bill. How about paying yourself? How about start, as soon as you get your paycheck, pay yourself. If it's $1 or $2 or $5, at least something. Don't use every penny you have to pay out to other people. Save a little. $5 doesn't seem like very much, but at least it's something to be able to plan for your retirement. And again, I apologize for ranting here this morning, but I just don't like to be grouped because I'm a senior with people who legitimately need help. You know, so. No,
Tom, listen, first of all, if you're going to rent, this is the place to do it. We welcome with open arms renters because, you know, that's what we're here for. Not always. I mean, as we said, we're going to be sprinkling more often than not good news into this program. And the effort is on, and we are openly soliciting, you know, people with good news to call us. But there's unfortunate news too, and hard news, and things going on that we have to talk about. So, I mean, I know you apologized a couple of times. Never do, because you're a welcome caller to this program, because you always touch a nerve on what people are, you know, interested in and what's affecting them. And we rely on our regular callers, such as yourself, to have the comfort and, you know, and the ground to the ear, you know, your ear to the ground, if you will, that to see what's going on and what's affecting people. So anytime something like that gets your goat, we're all over it. Proactively preparing any human beings for their senior years, we're way behind on that. There are all kinds of good college, high school courses that should be out there, whether it's for investing, whether it's how to bank or how to avoid banks, better still, how to invest even. Yeah. At a very early age, like yourself, you know. So there's not enough proactiveness going on. You're absolutely right. I know I hate to criticize any seniors advocate and the work they're doing, because they are doing a lot of hard grunt work behind the scenes, not just, you know, the announcements of this, that, and the other thing that we hear. They are there taking on the calls that other people can't and aren't prepared to, and have the resources to be able to properly deal with them. But I agree with you. There could be another aspect to this where we're actually preparing them ahead of time, preparing anyone ahead of time, not just seniors, but before you become a senior.
Exactly. That's the point I'm trying to make here. And again, you know, I understand the work they're doing. They take the calls to deal with people and they find all the issues that they have. But a big part of that job has to be preparing people for their retirement.
Absolutely.
You know, and there's, you know, you take the tax-free savings account. Man, it's a license to print money, because everything that accumulates in it accumulates tax-free. Mm-hmm. You know, I again, not to toot my own horn, but I have a TFSA where I have a whole bunch of artificial intelligence stocks into it. I sold one the other day for a 347% profit. Mm-hmm. That's all my money. The government doesn't get 1 cent of it. Open up a TFSA if you're a 45-year-old and put $10 into it.
And see what happens.
It's all accumulating tax-free.
Yep.
Similarly, with registered, with RRSPs and things, yeah, it's taxable, but you get the tax deduction and you invest and save yourself. Save a little bit of money. And I know some people are saying that we haven't got enough money out there to buy groceries these days. So how can we save? Save $5. Put loonies in a jar. Do anything to be able to save for the future. And that's the point I'm trying to make here, is that we're all going to retire, hopefully, and live to be seniors, and we have to plan for it and not depend on government handouts. And that's my rant, and thank you for taking it.
Loud and clear, Tom. Thanks again for the call. Don't be a stranger. Don't hesitate. Rant anytime. Or good news.
Thank you, sir.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line.
Not waste any time. Go right to line number 2. And Sam, you're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing well. How are you?
It's a wet day here on the Port Peninsula, and you're doing a great job. I'd like to appreciate that very much.
Well, I appreciate it right back at you. It's not much better out this way, Sam. It's we're socked in, so yuck.
The reason why I'm calling, about a month ago, I had an appointment for a doctor in the Bay St. George Medical Clinic. And it's very hard to get to see a doctor or get any appointments. So anyway, I went in. It's a beautiful clinic. It's first class. It's brand new and fully staffed with administration. So I went in, and I was held up by traffic. I mean, there was an accident on the road, and I couldn't get in. I was late for my appointment by 5 minutes. I walked in. I met the lady at front desk, and she told me that I'm a no-show. They're going to put me down for a waiting list to get a call back, and that's over a month ago. I never got a call, so they recommended me to call 811. So I called 811, and they said they can't do anything for specialty testing. So, I don't understand why that they didn't reverse that decision and had me to be able to see the doctor at that time. So just because you're 5 minutes late, that don't really make sense, and that's very, very undesirable for us guys. Just got to deal with the health.
Oh, I think did we lose Sam, Dave?
Pardon me?
Oh, there you are. Okay, sorry, Sam. We lost you just for the last 5 or 6 seconds. Continue. Sorry.
Yes, it's in a crisis, our healthcare. And it's very hard to see a doctor, or even a nurse practitioner can't provide the service that we need from a doctor or a specialty, especially if we get specialty cases to deal with. And I'm over a month or probably near 2 months trying to see a doctor, and I'm on the waiting list to see a doctor. And they kind of put you in the penalty box or punish you for no-show for 5 minutes late. So I don't know what to tell people. You got to, if you need prescriptions or you need to get any specialty tests, you're out of luck. It's sad. 5 minutes is you would think there's grace for 5 minutes. How far did you have to drive, Sam? Like, where were you coming from? Probably about Port Peninsula, Steenville to Bay St. George Medical Clinic, probably about 35 minutes. Yeah, so it's not just a jot down the road. It'd be good for them to take that into consideration. Technically, NL Health Services, and I've seen this before, and the first thing they tell you, not the app, nothing like that, call the specific place, if whichever clinic you're going to, and I don't know how many people have the specific number of the place. Maybe you do if you're there regularly, but they always say if you think you're going to be late or you're going to be late, we know that missed appointments is a bane of the healthcare system. It can really, I'm not saying like 5 minutes doesn't seem like a whole lot to me, and there should be some grace period there. But we know they crack down on it because if you're that's someone else's appointment that could have been in there and all that sort of thing. And so they have it very strictly that if you think you're going to be late, you need to call the specific clinic and tell them that you're going to be late. But 5 minutes in the difference, you wouldn't think, would you? No, and if you did call there, you're going to be talking to an answering machine most of the time. Anyway, even though it's fully staffed, it's like I said, it's a brand new clinic. It just opened up this year. It's fully staffed with administration, but I don't know what the doctors or nurses or nurse practitioners do, but we don't see them very much. A lot of people don't hear of it, but it's sad. It's quite possible they're all on virtual. The staff that would be there would be the staff, but as far as the actual doctor or LPN, they could be, or practitioner, it could be anywhere really, outside of that particular building. So what was the upshot? What did they tell you? And when did you finally reach someone, explain it? And what is the situation now? How much farther back are you on the wait list? Well, I called in and they put you on the wait list. So wait for any cancellations or anything. Never heard anything. That's probably about a month. And I got to talk to 811, and they can't provide the services for any specialty testing or anything that I need at all. So you basically, You mean I travel, I work, I work back and forth on the mainland, so I'm one of those guys that got to travel back and forth. So I try to make a schedule with it when I can with them, right? There's my schedule and their schedule don't always match up. So when we do match up, I got to get it right, and it's very difficult. It's very hard.
Life gets in the way life is the most important part. So you do what you can. As far as appointments go, you do what you can based on the seriousness and having to get there. As you said, you're flying back and forth or you're in and out of the province to try to make that half-hour drive, set it up 5 minutes late and miss the appointment and back into the queue. It seems a little hard-nosed, for 5 minutes. We know there are people out there who just, completely don't care if they miss an appointment. They'll make a decision, I can't go, it's inconvenient, and they may not do anything about it. You were on your way, you arrived there, and they still couldn't accommodate you. That seems a little hard-nosed for me.
It is. They could have reversed their decision, right? But put me down as a no-show? Now, I was there 5 minutes before. How long ago did they put me down a no-show? They might have put me no-show 2 or 3 minutes before that, before I came there, right? I don't know. But I was a no-show. She said, nope, you're a no-show. So... That's it. What can you do, right?
It's harsh. Sam, as you said, when you did call that specific number, because, the first thing they tell you here online and everywhere is call the specific clinic you're going to. Did you try doing that, and does it go to a bunch of prompts?
Oh, I called, and you, like it says, you're left to an answer machine to talk to, right? You go to your doctor and all that stuff, wherever you got to see, and you leave a message, and they may get back to you or they may not. Sometimes you got to call 2 or 3 times in a week to get through, and sometimes you don't. So the information I did get is that we'll put you on a wait list, and any cancellations will come up, so we'll further update you later in the future. So what possibilities is there? They might call you when you're abroad, or right? So maybe you can.
Maybe you can get your MHA involved. I don't know. Maybe they can, try to leverage something within the House and within the political realms and the red tape of this. That's what your MHA is for. Let's see, Port to Port. That's.
Premier Wakeham.
Yes, it is Premier Wakeham. So, he's got a bit of pull, being the boss and all. But he still has his constituency staff, and he still does the good constituency work, of course. So, there's one for him. I just wondered, when you did call, was that when you realized you were going to be late, or was it after you left and were told you got to go back on the list?
No. When I called after I already went into the clinic. I went into the clinic, and they told me that they're going to rebook me on a different point, but they haven't had anything in place. So
gotcha.
So and then I called back, and they said, well, you're going to put you on a cancellation, or we'll call you when we get an appointment for you. So I never get called for either one of them. I never get called for appointment. I never get called for cancellations. That's over a month ago.
And it's over a month ago.
Yeah. So if I got to do any specialty testing, it's not going to be possible. And sometimes, like I said, a lot of people with their specialty testing, you got diabetes or kidneys or any kind of heart disease or anything like that. You got to do any specialty test. And if you're waiting, sometimes there's people's not saying, but there's actually people dying because of delays. And I don't hear a lot of it, but I know it happens because because of the health conditions I got to go through, and I know it's got to happen because doctors is not meant to it, or the healthcare is not meant to it, but there's people actually dying because of delays. You can't get the service that you need. You can't get the treatments that you needed. You can't get the testing that you needed. So how? Our population is aging. You're getting more seniors out there. It's crazy, right?
Yeah, and make no mistake, they have a big problem with missed appointments. It is a massive problem with the time wasted and others who could have been in that slot and didn't get there. So I know why they're being so strict with it. But I think, if you can boil it down to 5 minutes, someone should be able to intervene here and at least give you a ballpark of when you'll be seen or when you can get back in the queue. Because, like I said, your MHA is the Premier. If someone made a call and just said, is 5 minutes, is that being too harsh? What can we do about it? I think there's flexibility with all these situations. Sam, I'm well past the break, but look, I appreciate the call and bringing up this topic. It is a big issue for NL Health Services as well as patients like yourself, So I appreciate it, and any update you can give me, I'd really appreciate that as well.
Very well. You take care, Brian. You have yourself a nice day.
Thanks, Sam. Good luck with everything. Bye. Take care.
Bye-bye.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Go right to line number 1, and Peter, you're on the air.
Oh, hi. How you doing?
Peter Whittle, how's it going?
Good. I'll just pull over here now. I wasn't even expecting to get on so quick.
Yeah, no worries. You know what? When it opens up, I try. It's like another little gig I have. I have people waiting to perform. I'm going right to that person. So there you are. We can coming up to the bottom of the half hour, but let's have a chat. We can start it now and then pick it up again after the break, if that's all right.
Yeah, sure, Brian. Just a couple of things. First of all, congratulations. You're doing a great job there.
Thank you very much.
Good to see you there, and I'm sure your father would be awfully proud. Had lots of great conversations with your dad over the years, and your dad was one of these guys that could see all sides of an issue, and I think you've inherited that from him for sure. I just heard you talking about the House of Assembly. I guess over my lifetime, I've worked, up in the House of Commons, and I've had opportunities to work around the House of Assembly a lot, and it does seem pretty bad up there at the moment. It's probably the worst I've ever seen it.
Yeah, and I mean, look, we've seen a lot.
I've seen like I can remember. The fisticuffs coming on. I can remember the old House Assembly upstairs where they were real close to each other, and in those days you could have a drink too. So lots to get them going. But
you think it was wild now? Yeah, sure.
Yeah, but and I remember when Danny Williams was premier, there was a fair amount of animosity between some members adjusting to the opposition and stuff like that. But when we consider, as you say, honorable gentlemen, honorable women who are in the public like that, in their leadership positions, and we're out there trying to teach our kids not to be bullies. We spend millions of dollars every year in education budget on issues related to bullying and all that sort of stuff. And when kids go to the House Assembly, they see it and they're shocked. But it's in the news cycle every day now, and you're able to hear what they're saying to each other, and they're fighting. You ask yourself, if this is what we're doing, what are we showing? What are we showing our kids? And I know it's frustrating sometimes to be defending a previous government's record or whatever the case may be, but to take it to that personal level, time after time, I don't think it does anything for the image of politicians in general. Which is not in it's not in the greatest shape as it is, which is too bad, because I believe it is an honorable profession, something to ascribe to help your community.
I think decorum has been an issue at different times, and it seems to be cyclical, especially when the government is either getting weak in the benches or when a new government gets in and you've got folks in opposition that are used to having staffs and a lot of other things, supports that aren't there, or just getting used to a new position. So I can imagine just how frustrating it's got to be. But, they're adults, they're leaders, and they should be leading by example. And, even in high school or university, when you join a debating club, like I did over the years, and youth parliament, you learned procedures on how to debate with facts and how to discuss things and how motions work and all that. That's the work of the House of Assembly. Mm-hmm. This is unfortunately a sideshow that doesn't need to be happening right now with the big issues that are happening. So I hope I was encouraged by the Premier, who came out and said, look, this has to stop. I think when the Premier steps in like that and leads the way, I saw Premier Wells do that when he was leader of the opposition. He said, no, we've got to change the way we do things, and we have to be more respectable, and that was the level of decorum for that era. Yeah, so and I think it can be done better. And
it's up to the Premier around the cabinet table. If he doesn't want to air laundry out in public, I mean, Mr. Parrott was standing, MHA Parrott was standing right next to him yesterday, and you could tell it was almost like dad and son. It was like, well, Premier, did you lay down the law in the caucus room at the table, and do they have to fall in line? Because if he doesn't follow it, then no one will. So it seems like he's sort of taking an iron fist. We'll see if this comes to it. One quick question, and I got an email while we're talking about this from Judy. She says, sorry about it. She makes a point, and I agree with her. Where is Sarah Studley in all this? Because I don't think her comment was any more acceptable than the rest. These words matter, and the old man face comment I thought was completely out of line, and there should have been some discipline there too. Your thoughts? And this goes across party lines.
Well, I certainly feel that people will say things and maybe regret them after, and that wasn't something that should have been said in the House Assembly or anywhere else, and it's unfortunate it was. And again, I think this really comes back to how. There is, like you see it in social media, you see it in your conversations with your friends and weekends or even at happy hour, we are at the moment as a society so hyper, I don't know, it's almost like hyper partisan or anti one or the other, that the sport of talking about things, getting someone on the go is one thing, but it's become personal. People take comments personally, and when you take things personally, you get upset. Now, the other person who has a major role in this is the Speaker of the House of Assembly, and the Speaker, is fair and impartial. I think we have a really decent Speaker at the moment. However, he should not be afraid to use the powers that he has that are part of the House of Assembly Act, and more importantly, over time through the tradition of the Westminster system that goes back 800 years. He can implement fines. He can move people out of the House of Assembly on a temporary basis for a period of time. And maybe that has to happen to set an example. It used to be that occasionally, if you really wanted to make a point, that because, question period is really, we used to call it not question period. It's not answer period, it's question period. You get frustrated and you say something and you don't want to take it back, so you go to the House for a couple of days. You get a good headline out of that. That's part of it. But this nastiness, I'd love to see that change.
Yeah, it used to be fighting for the issue, but now it's personal first, and the issue has become second. And I've said this before. It's becoming normalized. That's the problem. Politicians are good on their feet. You're a good politician. You can probably speak. You can talk good on your feet in the moment. Some politicians will use the Mr. Speaker to break up their sentences so they can have a pause. But the really good speakers just fire it out. It comes out as verbal, whatever you want to call it. But it's been normalized, these little attacks, and I think that is directly attributable to social media over the years, where you can anonymously attack anybody, and it's becoming normalized, and now it's leaking its way into our, our vernacular and into our behavior.
Look at the example over the weekend when the MHA in Labrador forwarded a text that he had received on Facebook or whatever the case may be, just talking about someone needs a shit kicking, right? Now, last time I heard someone say that in public, it was Danny Williams, and he was saying, "Come on, Andy Wells, come down by the lake. We'll settle this down by the lake," right? And no time for that stuff. I have absolutely none of it. I don't really care which party it is. It's all about the importance of people seeing politicians do the jobs that they're elected to do in an honorable way, and this just distracts from doing it. And in fact, it turns people off to the point where they just say, "Oh, they're all the same," and they don't listen to anything that's going on. And then come next election, what difference does it make? And voter turnout goes down. Yeah. Like this is the sort of thing that happens when we allow this to occur. So I hope the Premier gets stronger on it. I hope the Leader of the Opposition is stronger on it with his caucus. And certainly I think the Speaker needs to just show that he has what his abilities are by giving some people a couple of days off or some fines.
Yep. You're absolutely right. This kind of breeds apathy too. So, Peter, look, I got to try to squeeze in another call. I know there are a ton of other issues. Please call back. Look, there's other issues in the East End, the smell and all that kind of stuff. I'd love to talk to you.
The dump is a real issue. As you know, I won't take up any time now except to say I spent 12 years fighting that file, taking a little break from public issues as of late, but the smell this spring is as bad as it ever was, and I certainly wouldn't mind talking to you about it. And the other issue, Brian, that we've not talked about related to that is we're still sending all that leachate, all the chemicals and stuff are going directly into our sewer and into the harbor. Yeah,
and we're worried about salt going in there when we do snow clearing, so...
Yeah. So the logic of how decisions are made, public policy sometimes just astound me. And I guess that's the role of having a program like yours is to you can at least voice it and have the people responsible be held accountable. Again, good talking to you.
You too, Peter. Thanks for the call.
Okay, bye.
This is the best of VOCM Open Line with Brian Callahan.
Okay, let's go right to line number 2. And John, you're on the air.
Hello.
Morning, how are you?
Not too bad. Yourself?
Pretty good. Response to Mr. Babcock?
Yeah, talking about the seniors and everything, he said, prepare for your future and all this stuff like that, their retirement.
Yep.
A lot of people don't have money to prepare, I had a mother-in-law that, she worked all of her life. She reared up 3 kids. She didn't have extra money to put aside. She had enough to pay. She only had just above minimum wage. Where are you getting this money to pay, to prepare for the future? My father was the same way. He did, he had a half-decent job, and he couldn't prepare. He reared up 8 kids. So Mr. Babcock, I guess, sounds like he must have making half-decent money with his counselor for military or whatever he was talking about. Sounds like he might have had a second job. I'm not sure, but a lot of seniors I know cannot afford to prepare for them, and to be able to claw back on his pension from his old age pension. He must be making a good pension, from his career. My parents and my mother-in-law and all them, they could not put money aside, there's no extra, might have a school teacher might have a bit more extra money, nurses, but even now I can't, I got enough from day to day. Truck payments one time, 20 years ago when I bought my truck, it was, $600 a month for a payment on a truck. Now it's $1,200 a month. Where are you getting the money to put aside and prepare for your future and stuff like that when there's no money there? The groceries and everything. Taking a college course to say how to invest your money, if you don't have it, minimum wage, people working at McDonald's, the grocery stores, they don't have the money to be preparing for the future. I make half decent money. I didn't have enough to put aside, so he's got to look at that. Most seniors I know don't have the money or didn't have the money to put aside. Right.
That's the trick. You're absolutely right, John. I think Tom's point was the investment part of it, or reading up on your tax-free savings accounts or options to be able to. Yes. But again, that you're either learning that he's either referring to learning that as almost in high school, or learning it early before you even get into the workforce, or or later on in life, as you said, right? If you have the money to actually invest and try to start, a nest egg, if you will,
Yeah, trying to get that. Not too many people can do that, right?
And these days it's even tougher because most people are just trying to get by, let alone talking about investments.
Yes, and it seems like you have to draw out at a certain age too, don't you?
Yeah, certainly. Yeah, it depends on your particular plan, or there are efforts out there in different jurisdictions now to try to withdraw earlier without as many penalties. If you wanted to dig into something, if you needed a bit of cash to pull out of your, say, pension fund before you're eligible, like whether it's 55 or 65. I'll give you a minute to wrap up there. I'll try to squeeze one more before we get to the end of the program. But John, look, I appreciate the call. Just give you a sector to finish up. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no, that's my main point. It's just like most seniors don't have the extra money to be doing this, and yes, you can educate them and everything, but the people I know don't have it. And if he's making enough money extra to claw back, on his pension and everything, so he must have a half decent salary over the years, and he's 78 or 70.
Yeah.
My father was 80 something, and he when he was on a disability pension, but they clawed back his because he was a higher amount, right? But now, so it's hard for seniors.
Ooh, clawbacks are just a term itself by it just doesn't seem fair, Yeah. When you work,
just the expense in groceries and everything like that there now and everything now. So I just want to make a point. Not everybody can do it, right?
No, I understand, and hats off to Tom too for bringing it to the fore for people that are in that situation. And again, his good work, whether it's with the hub and everything, and he comes from an educated point of view. And you mentioned it too, from his military career, so he's got that going for him as well. Not everybody does, but it's an important point and both sides of it. And I'm really happy you called to balance it. So thanks for that, and don't be a stranger.
And I'm not trying to downgrade. I'm just trying to say that, minimum wage and up to even like $20-something an hour right now. You pay for everything, your groceries, and if you got a installment on ending or mortgage, you don't have much money left.
Yep, and it didn't come across that way either, so I appreciate it.
No. I was just making a point too.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, hope your order was. Hope you got your order okay.
Thank you. Tim's.
All right, yeah, I had a feeling. Okay. We'll talk Tim's and Dunkin' Donuts maybe tomorrow, the big donut wars that are pending. Thanks again, John.
Hey, buddy.
Don Coombs, president of the Federation of School Councils. You're on the air.
Good morning, Brian. How are you?
Great, sir. Thank you. And yourself?
I'm doing fantastic. Congratulations on your new appointment.
Thank you very much. I guess congratulations is the word. No, I listen. I'm honored, privileged. You call it. You name it. Whatever the word that comes to mind. It's quite the challenge. It's quite the next step in my career. And so far, I haven't set anything on fire. So as long as I don't feel the hook around my neck, I think I'm okay for now.
You'll do a good job. Brian, I was reaching out regarding a story you had in VOCM News with the absenteeism in our schools.
Yes, sir. A problem not just in this jurisdiction, of course, right across, obviously, the statistics. Go for it, Don.
Well, in 2017, I'm pretty sure, the Office of Youth and Child Advocate put out a report done at that time. And at that time, we were the highest in the country. The story became a national story. I did a media story on it 2 years ago. It was national. It was the highest, and it's a major problem that we have, Brian, and certainly the educators within the school system, and everybody knows different reasons for it. Some would say COVID. COVID was over years and years ago. The bullying, the internet, the social media, the phones, everything plays a part into it. But in order for us every student, every child in the province of Newfoundland and Labrador deserves an education. In order to get an education, you're going to have to attend school, and the educators we have to take on. But it's not a responsibility just of the educators within the school system. I think we got a problem where the department is working on it. They realize the gap that's there, Brian. It also takes some work at home from the parents, and it takes some work with the school. So it's a partnership, because the culture or society of, I'd say the culture of absenteeism is becoming grown. It's accepted. And in reality, it's not acceptable, because these students, young men, young women, boys, girls, need to be in the classroom. They need to get the education that we can provide within our system. And without that, it's going to be a long, long road down the road. And certainly, there would be consequences, no doubt, for missing school. And it has to be accountability from the parents, from the school system, from the department, when absenteeism is for no reason.
Yeah, and they're often for not for no reason, I guess. One of the things about this, I have a daughter in high school. She's graduating this year. And, the system of putting in an absence, too, is interesting. I wonder how much, there seems to be a certain amount of... I don't know what the word is for it. Error rate, maybe? I'm not saying this directly plays. We know there are problems with absenteeism, and it is chronic, and it is, affecting our future workforce, I think, and our hopes for it, and our numbers. But I also just wonder about that system of unexcused absences, because when my daughter now, she's graduating, and there's a lot going on, and there are excused absences, and then there's health and wellness absences, and there's others who just don't even bother, or miss the opportunity to put in the absence. Is that an issue whatsoever? Probably not as big as the larger issue, I know. But as a parent who uses it on a regular basis, it's always in the back of my mind how accurate it is and reflects actually who's in school and who's not.
Well, it's all contributing to the problem, and the problem is absenteeism. We want the students to be in the classroom. They need that education. And for whatever reason, it's become acceptable to miss school. It's become acceptable, and it can be from some tournament taking an extra few days. It could be just kids not wanting to go to school, the kids feeling bullied. It's everything. But we got to try to look at the problem, go to the report from 2017. The report was there. It was done. But we have to get the students, young men, young women, the boys, the girls, because if they start at the younger ages, it'll just escalate, and you know that, and I know that. And we have to work with the culture that we have, and the culture is that is acceptable, but we have to find a way to transform that acceptable into a non-acceptable thing, and get the doors open and get the kids back in the classroom in their seats where they should be.
Yet there also seems to be, correct me if I'm wrong, and I can feel it, a culture change or a shift in the belief that being confined to a school and a classroom all day is even good. I mean, there are experts and there are opinions out there, and analysts and education forums and everything looking more and more at the value of actually, confining kids to a school 9 to 5, whether it's the start times, whether it's the end times, whether it's the amount of exercise, whether it's the amount of fresh air. But I mean, we know that socialization is a massive part of a child's development. And I tell, as frustrating as it can be in high school for your kids, sometimes you remind them that this is part of learning. It's not just the books. And it's not just the book smarts. It's actually learning to deal with people, to get along with people, whether it's adults or whether it's your peers.
You're absolutely correct. School is just not. School is a social environment. It's an environment where you learn from other people. You learn to interact with people. You're given other opportunities besides books. There's arts, there's athletics, there's drama, there's every opportunity available in pretty well every school in Newfoundland and Labrador. And that's something the Federation has lobbied for since I've been involved, equal opportunities for every young student in the province. But unless you're in the classroom, you can't get those opportunities. And it's got to be a three-way partnership. It's got to be the administration at school. It's got to be the parents. And it's got to be the department working together to try to resolve this, because it'll only escalate, Brian. And down the road, there will be consequences for not going to school. And it has to be, right now, accountability from the students and everybody else, or we're going to be in a hard spot. And those students that are not going are going to be in a hard spot, because education is a wonderful thing. You don't have to lug it around. It's upstairs, and you've got it for a lifetime.
No, you're 1,000% right. I mean, look, if we're not all on the same page, whether it's the parents, whether it's the teacher, which I've always said can be the third parent in some cases, they're probably seeing your child more than the parents are, especially if they're working 2 or 3 gigs and they're like ships in the night, in some cases. So the communication with the teachers is huge. I always send an email out right at the beginning of the year saying, look, there's parent-teacher conferences, but if you need me for anything, I'm right here, just to make that initial communication. But if there's a break in that link, as you mentioned, then that's where it goes off the rails, right? If someone doesn't believe that it's important to be in school and that person happens to be a parent figure, then all bets are off. Don, I'm right at the noon news. Give you a quick sec to wrap, but I appreciate the call.
I think your last statement was correct. Parents have to be engaged in their children's lives and what they're doing and talk about their future. The days of us growing up, we were read to by our parents. We read to our children. Like, the parents had to be engaged along with the administration, along with the department, and hopefully we can see these results of being the worst in Canada change into a positive down the road with proper planning. Thanks, Brian.
I'm with you 100%. Don, let's talk again real soon. Appreciate the call. Thank you again.
Cheers, pal.
Okay, take care. Bye. Great one. Don Coombs, there, Federation of School Councils. That's it for the Tuesday edition. We'll talk to you all tomorrow, everyone. Until then, drive safely, arrive alive. VOCM cares.